As an introduction, we'd like to acknowledge that our mission at Vose Library is to advance learning, inspire curiosity, enrich lives, and promote community. With that in mind, let me introduce our guests. The 7-member Bilodeau family has been performing publicly for about 2 years, but have played music together for much longer than that. Mom and Dad have played music since before they met, and all the children have an artistic musical bent as well. In the past few years, several of them have played in Fiddlicious, Maine's largest fiddle orchestra. When they aren't writing or playing music, you can usually find them busily making musical instruments, fine cabinetry, artwork, digital media, delicious food, and spun, knitted, and sewn creations. The Bilodeau family seeks to not only provide an entertaining program, but they also hope to educate and inspire their audience through stories and tales. This evening's program was created to be a celebration of Maine's bicentennial. Unfortunately, many of the bicentennial events were canceled due to the pandemic, but thankfully, due to the magic of Zoom, we can still enjoy these songs and stories all about the great state we call home. Without further ado, please help me welcome the Bilodeau family.
All right, wow. This is awesome. We like having a live audience. We've streamed a couple of concerts, but this is the first one we've done over Zoom, so we can see that we have an audience, and that's awesome. I love seeing you all. Like Deborah said, we're the Bilodeau family. We have Mom Sarah on the piano. We have Hope on the violin, Rachel on the violin, Faith on the violin, my brother Andrew on the dulcimer and whistle, Dad on the mandolin, Brian on the mandolin, and I'm Jonathan, and I play whistle and violin as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Yep, go for it. So that was a tune that I wrote called Temper the Skillet, just a nonsensical name for a tune. And it's one of our fiddle tunes. So throughout this concert, we're going to be telling different stories about Maine and different facts. And one of those facts is that, did you know that Maine's coast is longer than the coast of California? It's surprising, but because of the irregularities of the coast, if you stretch out the entire coastline, it's longer than California's. And Maine has so many deep harbors along its coast that you could hold the entire world's navy in those harbors. So unfortunately, the jagged coastline can be very dangerous to ships, and Maine has had a lot of shipwrecks over the years. But thankfully, Maine's coasts are guarded by her iconic lighthouses. In between the New Hampshire-Maine border and the Maine-Canadian border, there are over 65 lighthouses keeping watch over our rocky coast. So to those beacons of hope in the storm, we're going to play a lovely waltz called Genevieve's Waltz. Okay. Thank you very much. So, on the topic of lighthouses, light keepers are the folks who keep the lighthouses lit. And they have a long and storied history of heroism and bravery. One such hero was Marcus Hanna, and he was the third in a long line of lightkeepers. Born in 1814, Marcus grew up in the Franklin Island Lighthouse, where his dad was stationed, and he went to sea at age 10. During the Civil War, Marcus was awarded the Medal of Honor for risking his life to get water for his company during a particularly hot day in the Louisiana heat. They ran out of water, and he risked his life to go back to the supply lines and refill for his platoon. So after the war, Marcus continued in his family's legacy and became a lighthouse keeper, eventually becoming the head keeper at Cape Elizabeth Light in Portland. One night in January 1885, during a terrible blizzard, the worst blizzard he'd said he'd ever seen, a schooner ran aground by the signal house. And Marcus, oops, um, Marcus, he was already suffering from a cold. He had a bad cold that day, and he had gotten less than 2 hours of sleep because of the his shift didn't end, and so he only got 2 hours of sleep before his wife woke him up and said, "There's a boat that's crashed on the rocks at the signal house," and so he risked his life again to rescue the two sailors, and he had to wade waist deep into the water and throw a line, and he kept missing, and he's freezing to death while they're freezing to death, and eventually they were able to grab the line, and he pulled in one of them, and then the second one he had to get help to get them in. But for that heroic act, he was awarded the Gold Life-Saving Medal. So he's the only person to date he's the only person in the country to be awarded both the Medal of Honor and the Gold Life-Saving Medal, which are like the two largest awards for heroism and bravery in both military and civilian life. So we want to honor that with two majestic French Canadian slow jigs, Les Tourmettes and La Maison d'Église. That's a good one. We like that one a lot. So as I relayed, thank you for the applause. I see. Very good, thank you. Um, so as I mentioned in the last story, boating off the coast of Maine can be quite dangerous. In fact, commercial fishing and lobstering are the most dangerous jobs in Maine. But it's a job that must be done because Maine supplies nearly 90% of the nation's lobster supply, about 40 million pounds annually. That's a lot of lobster. On calm days, the boat just rocks gently when the lobstermen go out to sea. But on other times when the seas are rough, the boat bounces and it crashes one wave and up the next. It's liable to cause landlubbers to become seasick. So this next set of tunes is from the Shetland Isles and was written to describe a ship on the sea. If you listen, you can almost feel the swell of the ocean and the crash of the waves, but don't get seasick. So the full rig ship. Thank you very much. Feels like a sea shanty. That was great. Awesome. So, I said that boating and lobstering is the most dangerous job in Maine, but the second most dangerous job in Maine is logging. Nowadays, logging is done with big chainsaws and heavy equipment, but back in the 1800s, things were much different. Loggers, like sailors, were very hardworking people. They would work 12 hours a day felling trees with axes and saws. They would set up camps in the winter so that they could haul the logs out across the snow and ice and bring them besides the rivers and streams. And then in the spring, they'd throw them in and ride them down to the log mills. And these log drives were extremely dangerous. You have thousands and thousands of logs floating down the stream, and they'd be dancing on top of them. I don't know if you've ever seen someone balancing on top of one log, but these people were running across all kinds of logs. And they had to be very, very keenly honed senses not to fall in and get crushed by tons and tons of pounds of logs. But all that hard work built up quite an appetite, and loggers consumed an incredible amount of food. On average, about 9,000 calories a day, which is twice what a normal person today eats. And they burned all of it. You won't find an overweight logger in any historical photos. They just worked it all off. In the evening, when the day's work was done, the loggers would gather together to sing and play music. And a lot of the loggers were of Irish and Scottish descent, and others were French Canadian. And they brought their music with them, and that's one of the reasons there's so much diversity in the fiddle music of New England. And most of the stuff that we play together as a family is from one of those traditions, that style of music. One of the songs they would sing was called the Shanty Boys Alphabet, and they had every logging camp had their own tune and their own words, and they basically came up with something in their day-to-day life that used each letter of the alphabet. And so we're going to sing our version of the Shanty Boys Alphabet for you. Yes, but I'm going to get a drink first because I am drying up. A is for axes, you very well know, and B is the boys who can swing them also. C is for chopping, we first do begin, and D is for danger, we oft times are in. E is the echo that through the woods rang, and F is the foreman, the boss of our gang. G is the grindstone which swiftly does move, and H is the handle so slick and so smooth. So merry, so merry, so merry are we, no mortal on earth is as happy as we. Sing hi-derry, ho-derry, hi-derry down, keep a shanty boy fed and nothing goes wrong. Well, I is the iron to mark all the pine, and J is the jobber who's never on time. K is keen edges our axes do keep, and L is the lice which keep us from sleep. M is the moss that we stuff in our camp, and N is the needle that sews our old pants. O is the owl that hoots in the night, and P is the pine that we fell in daylight. So merry, so merry, so merry are we, no mortal on earth is as happy as we. Sing hi-derry, ho-derry, hi-derry down, keep a shanty boy fed and nothing goes wrong. Well, Q is the coaling we never allow, and R is the river in which our logs plow. S is the sleigh so stout and so strong, and T is the teams that do haul them along. U is the uses we put our teams to, and V is the valley we drive the logs through. W the woods which we leave in the spring, and X, Y, Z, that's all I'm going to sing. So merry, so merry, so merry are we, no mortal on earth is as happy as we. Sing hi-derry, ho-derry, hi-derry down, keep the shanty boy fed and nothing goes wrong. So merry, so merry, so merry are we, no mortal on earth is as happy as we. Sing hi-derry, ho-derry, hi-derry down, keep a shanty boy fed and nothing goes wrong. That's a lot of fun. We like singing. We like singing a lot. So that was all the happy things, but not all of the stories from Maine are happy. We're going to move into some disasters, but we'll come back around to the happy bit of Maine straight away. Times may seem bad now, up in the air. crazy. But in 1816, the world experienced the year without a summer, a disaster of truly unprecedented proportions. Mount Tambora in Indonesia erupted in a massive volcanic explosion the world has never seen anything like since. It was 100 times more powerful than Mount St. Helens, and the blast could be heard over 1,000 miles away. It launched 55 million tons of ash into the atmosphere, and that spread over the globe, which that year caused a massive cooling and caused the year without a summer. So that year in Maine, there was a hard frost every single month of the year. Ice and snow were frequent throughout the summer months. A foot of snow fell in June, and in August, morning temperatures were consistently in the low 30s. Plants were killed and fruit was destroyed. Newly shorn sheep froze to death. Crops failed, and people were not far from starvation. Many farmers took their remaining supplies and headed west to Ohio to seek better weather. The main street in Bangor is called Ohio Street because so many people went through there on their way out of town, they named it Ohio Street. Some 10% of Maine's population left in 1816. So we have a somber tune for The Year Without a Summer, Star of the County Down. Well done. So, our next story has to do with the first ever elephant known to come to America. In 1796, Old Bet the elephant arrived in Boston. She was eventually purchased by a farmer named Hackaliah Bailey, which is a mouthful, for the purpose of plowing fields. However, he soon discovered that she was far more valuable as a curiosity, charging his neighbors 25 cents apiece for a quick peek. From there, he gathered up a bunch of other animals and started a road show called Bailey's Traveling Menagerie. And interestingly, P.T. Barnum started out as a ticket seller for Bailey's menagerie. He called Hackalaya Bailey the father of the American circus. Unfortunately, the story's connection with Maine is a sad one. While on tour in July 1816, Old Bet was actually shot in Alfred, Maine, which is about 15 minutes from here. The perpetrator of this crime was a Shapley farmer who was upset that people would spend their limited funds on a circus. You'll remember this was the year without a summer, and people were in dire straits, both physically and financially. So one can understand to an extent the reasoning of the farmer, but it's still kind of a sad story. If you're down this way, you can see they put up a plaque for Old Bet near the county jail in Alfred. So we're going to play a lament that I wrote, a lament for Old Bet, followed by a more upbeat and elephantish tune to celebrate the excitement a circus must have been in the middle of the year without a summer. So a lament for Old Bet and another tune. An elephantish tune. So unfortunately, the year without a summer was not the only calamity to befall Maine. In October 1947, a series of devastating fires ripped through Maine, destroying forests and property. Statewide, more than 200,000 acres, 851 permanent homes, and 397 seasonal cottages were destroyed by the end of the year. It was known as the year Maine burned. In this next piece, you can hear the fire start off slowly but take off, burning the forest down, and then the solemnness as people come back to rebuild. All right. So just a quick note about the year without a summer. Um, Although most of 1816 was a disaster for New England, there was one very important argument that came out of that time, and that was that Maine needed to become a state. Between concern that Massachusetts was not representing her interests well and the alarming exodus of people leaving Maine, Maine started the ball rolling towards its independence, which it would gain 4 years later. It's a possibility that if we didn't have the year without a summer, we would still be part of Massachusetts. Um, but hard times give us the opportunity to overcome adversity. Oftentimes we go through hardship that makes us stronger. So just encourage you, in light of the present circumstances, they're difficult right now. We will overcome them and ultimately become stronger because of them. So anyhow, on to some happier times and places. You may have read the book Miss Rumpus about a woman who goes throughout the countryside planting lupins. Well, the book is fictional. The character was inspired by a real life person. There was a real lupin lady who lived in Christmas Cove and planted the flowers that adorn Maine's roadsides and meadows. Her name was Hilda Hamlin. She was originally from Bristol, England, and came to Maine in 1904 when she was 15. When she retired, she began to cultivate the lupins that she brought home, that she brought from her house in England. And she would cut off the stalks in August and shake them out around her house. And then after a couple of years, there were tons and tons of lupins around her house. So she gathered up the seeds and she would spread them on the side of the road as she walked to the post office. She walked everywhere she went because she didn't have a car. But on the occasions that she needed a ride somewhere, her friends would catch her throwing seeds out the window, and she thought no one was looking. Eventually, they found out about her lupin obsession and began to call her Hilda Lupina, or the Lupin Lady. So by the time she reached her 90s, lupins had just exploded throughout the whole countryside and are now a permanent part of Maine's exquisite landscape. So in this next piece, you can kind of imagine the flowers popping up out of the ground in the spring. Song for the Lupin Lady. No, we could go faster. All right. So our next song, we're going to do Back to Maine next. So the next song, Back to Maine, was written by Clara Nash of Windham, Maine, and it was written about 100 years ago, probably for Maine's centennial celebration. So it's safe to say that it hasn't been heard for quite some time, except for the performances we've done. The tune was originally written, the tune part, not the words, but the tune was written by Irving Morgan, who was the principal organist at the Portland, and it was originally arranged for solo voice, but we have arranged it, taken his written copy and the vocal words and turned it into a choral piece. We'd like to give a special thank you to Penny Laura from the Windham Historical Society for finding the song for us. And this was really fun to bring back to life. So if you have any other such songs that you know of and want to send our way, we would be interested in that. Anyhow, so without further ado, back to Maine.
Back to Maine, my thoughts are thronging. Back the William duties call, and my heart is longing, longing for the sweetest home of all. Her 100 harbors keep for me a welcome night and day. Her sighing forests weep for me when I am far away. Her mountains, lakes, her singing streams, the murmuring pines refrain are calling, calling in my dreams. Come, come, come back to Maine, back to Maine. My thoughts are thronging, night and day I hear her call. Night and day my heart is longing for the sweetest home of all. Back to Maine, my thoughts are thronging, night and day I hear her call. Night and day my heart is longing for the sweetest home of all.
Very nice. Okay. All right. So, slight technical difficulties on our screen turned off halfway through there. You're back. Excellent. All right. So, at this point, we'll move on to Q&A, and we have, when we're done with that, if we still have time, we have one last song. We can play a fast song or a slow song, but we'll take questions at this point.
All right, Jonathan, thank you so much. So there aren't any questions in the chat room just yet. If we want to wait a minute, or if anybody wants to just unmute and ask this amazing family their question, go right ahead.
Or if you don't have any questions at all, then
Just play some more
we'll play more music.
I see a hand. Sue Henry? She'll have to unmute though.
Yes, can you unmute Sue Henry? I think she has a question.
That is Aunt Sue.
That is
Oh,
our
there you
Aunt
go.
Sue.
Oh.
Hey, Aunt Sue.
Can we click that?
Can we unmute her?
You could try. I'm not sure if I need to. Let's see.
Unmute button.
Is the mouse?
No, can you see in the lower left-hand corner of your screen?
Oh,
There's
there
a-
she is.
Hey, all right.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's wonderful to see your family because I don't get to see you very often. I think Amy's wedding was the last time, and was that 10 years ago?
Wow.
Don't know, but how old are all the children?
So that was one of the questions in the chat as well. So I'm 23 now, and
I'm 21.
I'm 18.
I'm 16.
Oh, I'm 10.
Thought you were 10. Well, it's wonderful. I listened to your concert that you did in September last night, and it was wonderful.
Nice.
I'm so proud of you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
thank you. Someone asked how we decided to start this family group. I think we started playing. I don't know. Andrew and I would start playing, and then I don't know. It just morphed into. What was the first
We
gig?
played together. We started out playing at a local fair, and
That's right.
people acted like they liked it, and so we just kept going, and it was pretty cool that we get to do something fun that we enjoy doing together, and other people seem to like it. So
Yes.
read any of that.
Yeah, I can't see.
How many years ago were you in Honduras?
That was about 10, 11.
Yep. So the question about outside music lessons or parents give lessons. Well, Mom's played the piano since forever, and she gave us all a little bit of lessons when we were very young. And I don't know, Andrew still plays the piano. He's picked up a lot by ear. He plays almost entirely by ear. We all play by ear for the most part, although you play more
There's
with
some of
music.
both.
And we've all, the fiddle players have all taken lessons, but Andrew and I have taught ourselves to play the whistle, and Andrew taught himself to play that dulcimer. Yeah, I think, and Dad, you kind of self-taught. Yeah.
I play by ear and I can read chords, but I can't read music.
Any of the instruments we're playing when you made? Yes, this dulcimer that Andrew's playing is an instrument that I designed and Dad and Andrew and I built. A lot of times dulcimers kind of have a tinny sound that I didn't like. I wanted it to sound more like a guitar, so I made it with a bigger body and more open soundboard. And Andrew he takes the dulcimer to heights I didn't know that dulcimers could be brought to. He really makes it sing. And the whistles that I play, this is just a PVC pipe whistle that I made, and it makes.
Same as this one.
Anyone going professional?
Yeah. Professional paint job.
Anyone recording an album? We'd like to record an album. That's kind of our next to-do list. So we'll have to pick one of these concerts, either the Back to Maine or we do a Christmas concert and a St. Patrick's Day concert. That's kind of the first set of concerts we did was St. Patrick's Day, but because all the Irish music had just fit right in. So yeah, that's definitely something we're considering. We'd like to do. And someone said we went all out with the decorations. I want to thank again we have a sound guy here who's done our well, he brought the lights too. Dave Hawkins, is a great family friend, and I mean, he just took our game like up
Next level.
5 notches.
5 levels up.
So it's yeah, like every stream's getting better, and yeah, it's going well.
All right, I think that's it for the chat. Jonathan, did you say you are going to finish with another song for us?
Yes. Would you like a fast song or a slow song?
Well, I would like fast because you have shown us that we have so much to celebrate with our state and just so many reasons why I would love to keep it upbeat. And I'm just going to make that executive decision. How's that?
Okay.
I see some fast comments in the chat. So
Good. Okay.
All right, good.
Take it away.
You want to do cold and frosty or
It's the best. Load of hay.
load of hay? We'll do load of hay. All right. All right. Ready?
That was terrific. Thank you,
Ah.
thank you, Bilodeau family. All
You
right.
are very welcome. We are very happy to play.
So I'm just going to finish up by saying that concludes our presentation for this evening. All of us at Vose Library, thank you for attending our Zoom with Vose Wednesday series. And we hope that you'll help spread the word and also join us for our next presentation with Max Smith, who knows all things Peyton Place. And this presentation will be on December 2nd at 6 p.m. I hope everybody has a terrific, happy Thanksgiving. Good night, be well, and stay healthy. Thanks, everybody.
Good night. Bye.
Thank you.